Frank Vogel back in Indiana, where he coached the Pacers for 6 seasons. Some great teams, but could never get past LeBron. Got to be nice to be back with LBJ on his side. But will the King be suiting up? Lakers and Pacers coming up at 10 right here on Spectrum Sportsnet. The Lakers have not won in Indiana since 2013. That's their longest active road losing streak against any opponent. Hello and welcome to Access Sportsnet Lakers, brought to you by your Southern California Toyota dealers, Chris McGee, James Worthy, Robert Ory. We got Brez, we got Allie, we got Trudell, we got the whole gang. Who's in and who's out? We're all here. Will the Lakers be playing? Let's check this out. Today's matchup versus the Pacers. And guess what? Dennis Schroeder, available. Alex Caruso, available. LeBron James, available. Anthony Davis, available. That is good news. Lakers and Pacers will tip it off at 10 right here on Spectrum Sportsnet. For more on today's matinee matchup in the Hoosier State, let's head down the hall and check in with the Lakers reporter, Mike Trudell. This is good news.
Hey, guys, they're getting healthy at the right time, right? As you can see now, the Western Conference standings are a complete mess. So many different things could happen, and you have to think that a lot of teams are trying to figure out where the Lakers will land. But for today's game, maybe the top liner there, we had an idea that Schroeder was going to come back. We thought AD was going to be fine. Caruso may not play, even though he's available. But it's about LeBron, right? It's about LeBron and that ankle. So that's where we followed up with Frank Vogelgeiter to start things off moments ago.
It's been good. We continue to evaluate how it's feeling after, doing the rehab work and, putting him in practice situations and, trying to strike that balance of, getting him some work so he can build his conditioning and work on his rhythm and timing without agitating the ankle. And, we're hopeful to get some time in the regular season before we get into the playoffs. And, today will be that day.
And Frank, is there a plan for minutes today with LeBron? How much of it is see how he feels? And is that going to come kind of after this, or have you already decided how you're going to operate with the back-to-back?
Yeah, we'll decide tomorrow on tomorrow's game tomorrow. And in terms of tonight, we're just going to be responsible with his minutes.
And then, Frank, the last thing I want to ask you about, it's looking pretty open still as to who your first-round opponent could be, as to whether or not the plan is going to happen. To what degree are you and your coaches all monitoring and prepping, and then also, thinking about these 2 games you have to play, LeBron's health, all that stuff?
Yeah, well, the assistant coaches are doing the work on, potential playoff opponents. But for us, obviously we're monitoring, what the matchups could look like, but really just controlling what we can control, which is to come out and play a great basketball game today. Get some minutes with our guys that haven't had a lot of time to build cohesion and, try to win a basketball game today. You win as many games as you can in the regular season, and wherever the standings end up, that's where they end up, and we'll be prepared to play anyone.
All right, so the good news is everybody back today. The Lakers could still be the 6, the 7, or the 8. They could play Denver, Portland, or Utah. It is now impossible for them to play the Clippers after the Clippers lost their game last night, Geeter, at Houston.
All right, Mike, great update right there and some good news. So LeBron is in. Let's go. And as Frank said, we have not had a lot of time to build cohesion. Can they do it one day? Let's see, Big Game James. All I know is it's nice to have everyone running the floor together.
It is. That's a start to get into that cohesiveness that you're talking about. So LeBron he's a brilliant player. It won't take him a long time to adapt to to the players that he's used to playing, and as far as acclimating somebody like Drummond as well. So it's just a matter of he and Schroeder and Caruso, all those guys getting back and getting stamina, getting some runs. You need those dummy offense situations sometimes when you're trying to get everything back together. So hopefully they'll have those moments, but it shouldn't take them too long either.
What do you think LeBron's looking at this morning when he plays in terms of his own body and his ankle?
I think he's going to see how he can cut, see how he can defend, and see what, jumping off that leg is going to feel like. Because if you think about LeBron game is all power and strength and finesse. So when he's making those cuts on that ankle, he has to make sure that he's 100. He has to make sure that he can do the things that's not going to put him in a bad predicament. Because, like James always says, you got to do what you can on defense and test it, because you can't predict what the guy's going to do on defense. Your body has to react. And so you can always do what you want to do on offense, but defense you can't. So You got to see how he feels. And you're just going to watch him, see if any limping is going on, but I think he'd be fine.
As Rob was talking, you were kind of pushing off your feet, doing like LeBron-type moves that you were.
Yeah, I was trying to see which leg he pushes off of the most. And usual time I think it's the left, but as Rob stated, I remember when I had an ankle injury and we were going up against Chicago, I could control where I was going, but then Scottie Pippen knew my ankle. And he'd give me one of those little fakes, and I would have to go for it, and that's when you'd be like, oh, yeah. something you didn't anticipate doing. So it'll be interesting to see how he feels tonight.
Big game. I love that Dennis Schroeder is back after missing 7 games in a row due to health and safety protocols. It's just nice to have that playmaker back in the lineup, another ball handler, and a guy that's going to pick you up 94 feet and play defense.
Yeah, personally, I think if we'd have had him for a couple of those games, the Lakers wouldn't be in this situation.
We'd be already been the main draw.
He's learned how to lead, and more importantly, you know, Rob always points this out. This brother picked you up full court, and that changes your whole offense. Because by picking you up full court, you're going to lose 7 seconds, you know, out of the shot clock, just dealing with that. So, yeah, it's nice to have him back, and it's nice that they're getting everybody back at the right time so they can, you know, get it back together.
Yeah, these games will be like exhibition games where they had to get out there and practice and get to know each other, because we hadn't had this starting lineup to play with each other yet. So
one time, right? Sacramento game, I think, and it wasn't for very long.
It wasn't for very long, so that really don't count. You know?
It doesn't count.
and practice is not the same. You know, people say, well, they had time to practice. No, you need to get in game situations where the opponent doesn't know your plays, where you can go out there and challenge each other. And games are so much easier than practice sometimes, because in practice, you know a guy's play, so you're going to anticipate and make them work harder. So in the game, you got to get those situations down. And I just want to see how the pick and roll situation with Drummond and the other 2 guys that's fresh, and how he's going to get some basketballs. Drummond, because he's a great roller, but they got to find him.
Big game. We ask you to do a lot of things, but understanding the standings is not one. That's my job to explain it. So I want to show you what the standings look like right now, because they are a mess. Big game, James. And the NBA is getting what they wanted, I guess. Teams jockeying for positioning strategically. Seeds are in flux. Teams are tanking. Teams trying to get in. It's mass hysteria, big game, James. Lakers currently tied with the Blazers, who play Denver tomorrow night. Lakers in 7th, so if the playoffs started today, they would be in the play-in. But if they win the final 2 games of the season and Portland loses, they can finish 6th and be in the main draw. And maybe you'll be on an island. I don't know. I'm just saying. There's a chance.
Yeah, I mean, this has been confusing. I've had people standing in the line in the grocery store, and so what is this playing thing? And I just try to tell them that, you know, the owners, they want those 10 games that you gave up. And, you know, it usually 1 through 8. So I said, oh, yeah, 7 and 8 play, and, you know, if we win, you know, then we're in. And if we lose, we play 8, 9. So it's been confusing for everybody, but I think we finally got a hold on it. Thanks for Brez.
You're welcome.
Brez and you as well, and Allie, and, you know.
Clippers lost to the Rockets, which was amazing. By the way, OKC has quietly lost 24 of 25 games, one of the all-time tank jobs. That's who the Clippers play tomorrow. But when you're in OKC, you can just fly under the radar. Yeah. Not anymore.
Old school guys my age are like, man, there's a lot of positioning.
Positioning. Right? Yeah. Strategic positioning. Lakers and Pacers are coming up at the top of the hour. AD returns after sitting out Wednesday. The last 3 games, AD has dominated, averaging 33 and 10. We're back with more after the break. Kobe Bryant headed to the Hall of Fame later today.